There's certain individuals out there, cough, squat you, cough, who will, they'll almost nocebo people into thinking that narrow shoes are the cause of all foot pain and all, basically any pain you've got is probably because your shoes are too narrow. I even saw one video of him cutting apart his Nike trainers to make a hole in the side.
Yeah, I remember
just to
that.
let his toes pop out the side. And I mean, that was just, I thought that was taking
Mate, just buy a flip-flop.
Yeah. I understand what he's trying. The thing is, I understand people's point about the narrow shoes and the compression, because you automatically assume, it's a narrow shoe, it's pushing your toes together, which is not going to lead to comfort. The problem I have is how much force do people think these narrow toe boxes in trainers are exerting? Because the body, it does adapt, we know that, but to adapt to a point where you're literally causing things like bunions, you'd have to have a lot of stress induced to actually move the bone to actually do that. And I don't think a Nike trainer with a small toe box is doing that.
He was pretty much this goes for the comments as well, so it wasn't just people like Squat U, but also like his diehard followers in the comments were going on about this whole diatribe of how running shoes are going to deform our feet and evolution is going to take its toll, and eventually we're going to have like fucking eagle claws, etc. I don't think people realise the amount of severe pressure it takes to make permanent changes to your feet. Joe, ever since we kind of discussed that we were going to be talking about this topic, it actually brought back like a bit of a repressed childhood memory, mate.
I don't like this is where this is going.
I remember watching a documentary, and tell me if you've heard of this before. Chinese foot binding.
Yeah, I was literally about to say the same thing, yeah.
I remember my mum used to make me watch some weird shit as a kid, which probably explains the way I am. But yeah, like I remember seeing this documentary on Chinese foot binding where it was, first of all, why would they do it? It was seen as like a beauty thing. It was kind of like a high society thing to do as well. But basically, it's where you'd basically wrap up and massage your feet to the point where it was so tight that your feet would deform over time, and it would just form a very severe point. Your foot would basically look like a ballerina shoe. And the amount of pressure, they used to break the toes first, and then they would like wrap it around to the point that it would just, basically the complete opposite of what a running shoe does, or work boot.
That is a perfect example of the sort of stresses required to deform your feet to the point of
and they would usually do it between the ages of, what's it like?
It was young, wasn't
it? Like as not an infant, but like 4 or 5 or something like that. 4, 5, 6. When your bones are easy to manipulate, when your growth plates ain't fully developed, etc. So to suddenly go towards adults wearing running shoes or your work boots or your fucking Timberlands, are going to suddenly like deform your feet and make you non-functional, etc. It's just bollocks.
Plus, I'm being honest, if the shoes were that tight that they were going to cause that sort of damage, they would be extremely uncomfortable that you'd probably not wear them. And if you would know to take them off. Yeah, you'd notice it. If you're still wearing them after that amount of discomfort, then it's your own fault. You've only got yourself to blame for having fucking like weird toes. You know what I mean? It's true though, isn't it? Because it would be extremely uncomfortable to have it that compressed. But yeah, I mean, if we also look at things like bunions, which is that can also be something that's brought up quite a lot in regards to having tight shoes. If we look at the actual data on it, which I'm sure we're going to come to time and time again because all these products love going on about bunions, the cause of bunions is actually pretty unknown, and it's very multifactorial in terms of every time they look at it, they're not really sure what's causing it. So when people like Squat U come out and say, "Oh, it's definitely because you've got narrow shoes," that's just I think he's just saying it. It's an easy target, isn't it? Because it would make sense if you to the layman listening.
I mean, on that topic, I talk about the layman listening. This is why I have a massive issue where people just solely focused on biomechanics, is that it becomes very easy to try and justify your reason behind something by blinding people with science, or in this case, biomechanics. But what people who are just obsessed with solely with biomechanics do is they just take one piece of the puzzle, just a couple of pieces, and tell you that, they assume that they can see the whole puzzle just by focusing on one piece of it. So people like Squat U will go on like a massive, they'll place a massive caption and they'll explain all this random biomechanical jargon, and to layman it'd be like, well, this makes sense. This guy's using scientific terms here. He's placing all the pieces together, A, B and C. But it's a lot more complicated than that. And as you said yourself, like there's no definite evidence on like what creates or what is the sole cause of these issues in the first place, such as bunions, etc.
I think, as you said, it's very easy to attack that one piece of the puzzle. It becomes very simplistic, and it's easy for them to push their agenda when they follow. Yeah. Because if they start having to bring all these other factors into play, they confuse themselves, and it's very hard to put that in a post that gets people biting and gets people excited.
Yeah.
So you'll see it on social media, they'll find that one piece and they'll attack it.